That sausage roll, fresh out of the servo warmer or the supermarket bakery section, the classic Aussie snack grabbed without a second thought, might barely have any actual sausage inside it at all. Australia's most iconic sausage roll brand lists wheat flour and margarine before any meat and confirms just 8% beef. The name says sausage roll. The ingredient list says pastry roll with a sausage cameo. Today I'm checking rolls from 7 major Australian stores against that exact standard. The most nostalgic, best known name in the entire category is not one of the 3 that actually passed. Quick standard before we start, right now, because I want to be genuinely fair about what this actually is before we get into the list. Nothing here is contaminated or unsafe in any way, and I want to be upfront about that from the very start before we get into a single store on this list. Australian food standards do regulate minimum meat content for some products carrying a meat name in the Food Standards Code, and it's worth checking the exact current requirement for sausage rolls specifically before assuming a number, since the clearest confirmed figure I actually have is the 25% meat minimum that applies to a classic meat pie, a slightly different product under the same broad rulebook. The real question running through this whole list is simpler than any legal threshold anyway. Does meat show up as a genuinely substantial ingredient near the top of the panel, the way the name on the box implies, or does pastry and margarine dominate the list first, with meat appearing much further down as a minor, single-digit percentage almost as an afterthought? There's a real percentage printed on the pack that tells you this before you buy it. Sitting in small print, most shoppers never once check, standing at the warmer with a $2 coin already in hand, engine still running out the front. Number 4, 7-Eleven, the classic servo pit stop snag, grabbed on a road trip or a quick petrol run without a second thought about what's actually inside the pastry, standing there under fluorescent lights while the pump clicks off behind you. Convenience counter sausage rolls are rarely made to the same standard as a dedicated bakery with an actual baker behind the counter, no matter how good they smell drifting out from under the heat lamp near the register. Worth checking this specific product's current meat content before assuming anything either way, since servo hot food sausage rolls are typically supplied by large-scale commercial bakeries, prioritizing shelf life and low cost over how much actual meat goes into the mix in the first place. The convenience of a 30-second petrol stop, engine still ticking as it cools outside, doesn't come with any real guarantee about what's actually filling the pastry you just paid for at the counter. Grabbed in 30 seconds. The ingredient list deserves more scrutiny than that, even if nobody ever gives it that scrutiny in practice. That's the baseline servo snag dealt with completely. First of 7, setting the tone for everything that follows. The next one is a different servo chain, doing the exact same thing under a different colored sign further down the highway. Number 3, BP. The other major servo chain, same road trip ritual, same warmer cabinet glow reflecting off the glass, same queue at the counter behind someone buying a scratchy and an energy drink before hitting the road again. A different logo out on the forecourt doesn't automatically mean a different supplier or a genuinely different meat content sitting inside the roll waiting under the heat lamp near the counter. Worth checking this specific product's current meat content before assuming anything, since the general servo hot food category pattern tends to apply regardless of which chain sign happens to be lit up out front on the highway that particular night. Petrol station branding tells you absolutely nothing about what's actually inside the pastry sitting under the glass. Whether the sign out front is green or a different color entirely on any given day. Different pump, same open question sitting quietly under the heat lamp, mile after mile of highway between them. That's the second servo dealt with completely. 2 down, 5 to go, and the pattern is already starting to feel familiar. The next one is a full supermarket, not just a quick stop on the way somewhere else on a long drive. Number 2, Aldi, stocking its Baker's Life brand, sitting in the freezer section between the pies and the dumplings the way it always does on a Tuesday shop. Aldi's reputation for surprisingly solid own label quality at a noticeably lower price than the big 2 supermarkets. The reputation that's genuinely built its whole loyal following in this country over the past decade or so of middle aisle bargain hunting. A good value reputation across the entire trolley, from cheese to muesli, bars to laundry powder, doesn't automatically confirm this specific product clears the meat content bar. The name printed on the box implies to a shopper grabbing it in a hurry. Worth checking this specific product's current meat content before assuming Aldi's general reputation carries over neatly to this particular item sitting in the freezer section between the pies and the dumplings on a Tuesday. Aldi's reputation for quality on cheese and chocolate doesn't automatically extend to every single product carrying its name in every single aisle of the store. Sausage rolls included. Good reputation on cheese and chocolate. Still a genuinely open question here in the freezer section, worth checking for yourself. That's the budget supermarket handled completely, 3 down, and the pattern holding steady the whole way through. The next one is the biggest name in the entire category, sitting on the biggest shelf in the entire country. Number 1, Woolworths, stocking 4N 20 sausage rolls, sitting in the frozen aisle, right where it's sat, for as long as most shoppers can remember. Australia's most iconic sausage roll brand, on shelves since 1947. The Great Australian Taste, printed right across the box, in bold letters, the name most Australians would say first, without even pausing if you ask them to name a sausage roll brand off the top of their head at a barbecue. The most iconic, most nostalgic name in the entire category is not automatically the one with the most actual meat sitting inside it. And in this specific case, it's genuinely the opposite of what you'd assume walking down the freezer aisle. Four'N Twenty's own current ingredient panel, published directly on the brand's own official website for anyone with an internet connection to check for themselves, lists wheat flour and margarine before any meat at all, with beef confirmed at just 8% and bacon at 6%, well down the list behind pastry components. Decades of shelf presence at every footy match, school canteen, and Bunnings sausage sizzle across the country, and a beloved nostalgic name that's genuinely part of the culture. Don't guarantee the filling is mostly meat, no matter how long it's been sitting in that exact spot in the freezer aisle since you were a kid. Since 1947, 8% beef. Both of those facts are completely true about the same box at the exact same time, which is the whole point of this entry. If the most iconic name in the entire category is mostly pastry, once you actually check for yourself, standing right there in the freezer aisle with the box in your hand, here's what the 3 stores that actually passed this test look like instead. Okay, 4 stores down, and I want to be genuinely clear about something before we move on. None of this is illegal, and none of it is contamination in any way, whatever the tone of this video might have suggested walking in. It's a real percentage sitting quietly on the ingredient panel that most shoppers never once check before grabbing the box off the shelf or out of the warmer. Here are 3 stores worth checking first next time you're deciding where to grab lunch on the run. Past 1, Coles, stocking Villi's Little Villas gourmet party sausage rolls, sitting in the same chilled section. Shoppers walk past every single week without giving it a second glance. Confirmed meat, minimum 20%, printed directly on the current product page for anyone to check before buying, more than double 4. 20s confirmed 8%, sitting further up this whole list. worth being genuinely honest about what that actually means before calling it a clear win outright, since 20% is still a minority of the roll by weight. Still not half the roll, not even close to it, worth being upfront about that. But more than double the most famous name on this entire list, which is genuinely worth something even if it isn't perfect by any reasonable stretch of the imagination. Pass 2, Baker's Delight, a genuine bakery format chain making product on site in the actual store itself, with an oven right there behind the counter, rather than reheating something mass manufactured somewhere else entirely and shipped in, frozen on a truck. Worth confirming the specific current meat content before stating an exact figure with any confidence, but made on site is a real structural difference from reheated in a warmer cabinet, whatever the precise number turns out to be once you actually check it yourself in store, receipt in hand. Pass 3, Brumby's Bakery, another genuine bakery format chain, a completely different production model entirely from a servo hot food cabinet or a mass-produced frozen brand shipped nationwide from a single central factory somewhere interstate. Worth confirming the specific current meat content before stating an exact figure with any real confidence, but a proper bakery counter making its own product fresh on any given morning, flour on the bench and hands in the dough, is structurally a different promise entirely than a box that's traveled through a freezer truck and a warehouse to get to the warmer near the till. Here's the actual mechanics of checking this yourself, because it takes about 10 seconds once you know exactly where to look on the box. Read the ingredient list on the back, not the glossy photo on the front, and look for where meat actually sits in that list, since ingredients are legally required to be listed in descending order by weight under Australian food labelling law. If meat shows up third or fourth behind flour, water and margarine, that's telling you something. A picture of a golden flaky roll steaming on a plate never will. Some brands like Villiers print an actual minimum percentage directly on the pack, which makes the comparison even easier for a shopper standing in the aisle, and it's worth looking for that specific number before assuming anything based purely on the brand's general reputation or how long you've been buying it. This was never really about 7 bad stores scattered around this country, and none of them did anything remotely illegal by selling exactly what they sold at the price they sold it for. It's about one real percentage sitting quietly on an ingredient panel, buried under a nostalgic name and a decades-old jingle most of us grew up humming at the footy without ever really thinking about what it was actually selling us underneath the tune. The same iconic name, thin, actual content gap, shows up in meat pies, dim sims and other Aussie takeaway staples sold under a name everyone trusts without ever once checking the back of the box before buying it again out of pure habit. Once you learn to check the meat percentage instead of trusting the name or the nostalgia attached to it, the same gap becomes visible throughout the entire bakery cabinet and the freezer aisle, box after box, brand after brand, servo after servo, from one end of this country to the other, for as long as you keep shopping.